So something that a lot of you will probably experience over the course of the next few weeks and upcoming studios is that your Make2D in Rhino may not come out as cleanly as you think it should be coming out. So what an example of this might look like is if we look at this drawing, if we look at all of these intersections that are happening here, they're not as clear as they should be. So there should actually be a little line coming across here to imply that this cup is sort of sitting inside of this piece here. So there's a couple of different reasons that this happens. So the first one I want to show um, is if you have two objects that are intersecting with each other. So we have this and then we have this sphere object. So if we go into our top view and we want to do a Make2D of this, we have a certain way that we would expect this to look. So we would expect it to sort of look like our box here, then we would expect it to have a line coming across here, and then we would expect it to have that circle coming on the outside. So if we do a Make2D here, and we look at our view, we see that that's not actually what it looks like. So one thing that Make2D has a lot of issues with is intersections. So if two objects are intersecting, but they're not actually split, so this is a full sphere and this is a full rectangular prism. So one thing we could do is we can run an intersect command. So what that will do is it'll give us an actual line here, and then when we do a Make2D of these objects, we include that line in it. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us the profile that we were expecting to see. Another thing you could do is you could go ahead and run a Boolean operation on this. So if we were to look at this and do, let's say, a Boolean union, then we would also get the sort of result that we're expecting. So if we do a Make2D, we'll also get the same thing. Now, what it's missing here is the sort of sphere going underneath, and that's happening because we actually got rid of that portion when we did the Boolean union. So obviously for either of these techniques, what it's really important to mention is that if you have a full studio model you're trying to do this on, you certainly do not want to do this all in one shot. So don't just select your entire model and do a giant Boolean operation on the entire thing because it's going to freeze. The other thing that I see happen a lot is people, this is obviously just a simulation, this is not something that actually happened in Rhino, but if we expect our sort of rectangle to look like this, and it ends up looking like this, so we have sort of choppy lines and missing pieces and things like that, one option to do here would be to go into our units, and if we look at our absolute tolerance, we can turn that number down. So if we turn that number down, let's say add 2 zeros, then that will make everything in Rhino a lot more precise. So there's a couple of things to remember here. The more precise your model is, the more it will pick up any errors that are in your model. So if you have parts that are modeled more sloppy than other parts, this will start to pick that up more than when the tolerance was lower. And then some other things to think about. It makes your model more precise, so it makes your file size much bigger. It makes loading much longer. It makes your file lag and much more susceptible to crashing. So I wouldn't really do this unless you absolutely need to. And if you do this, I would do it for the Make2D, and then I would turn this tolerance back down to what it originally was so that you're not starting to slow down your computer.